When the going gets tough, the tough get excited. Isn't that what we want? People who are tough mentally and physically. They're logical, they're wise, they're resilient, they're critical thinkers. We talk about that all the time. We want our kids to be critical thinkers, to think for themselves. But then the reverse of that, we seem to live in a world where people believe everything. They believe social media, they believe the government, they believe everything the doctor says. And the government might be right, and the doctor might be right, and the social media influencer might be right. But what if they're not? What if they're wrong? And is it possible that they could be wrong? And if they are right, do you actually want to know for yourself that it's not just their opinion, but it's true fact? So how do we make sure that the information that we're given, the information that we listen to, that we run it through a headspace that says, and I'll just rephrase, why don't we just question everything? There's two questions my father taught me to ask when I was a very little girl. Why would I do that, and how does it work? And is it possible that every expert, every doctor, every government official, every person who tells you what to do or tells you what to think, that you have the right to ask that question? Why would I do that, and how does it actually work? Explain it to me in simple terms that make sense, that I can understand. And there's another great quote that goes with that. If somebody can't explain something to you simply, it means that they don't understand it themselves. So as an exercise professional, for example, the human body's got, well, it's made up of Latin terminology. Latin is a dead language, which means nothing changes. And that's what's really cool about anatomy and physiology, because a latissimus dorsi is a latissimus dorsi in Australia, New Zealand, Germany, Greenland, and Iceland. It's the same thing. But it can get a bit complicated. And isn't it interesting that the human body, for example, we get told so much about how to eat and how to exercise and how to be healthy and how to get rid of diseases, but the people that give us that information can't explain it in a simple way. Wouldn't it be great if somebody could just say to you, if you get fit by getting puffed, if you get strong by overloading your muscles and bones, these are all the great things that will happen to your body. You'll be able to fight germs, bugs, viruses and diseases. You'll have a fast metabolism, so you're less likely to become overweight. You'll be lean. You'll have a healthy brain, so you're more likely to be able to think clearly and avoid depression and Alzheimer's and dementia and all the horrible brain diseases. Isn't it awesome? You'll have strong muscles and bones, so you will age very, very slowly, if at all. You can stay healthy, fit and strong for the rest of your life. Now there's a gorgeous big long list of things that happen if you get fit and strong. But it seems that the people that deliver that information to us, they want to make it as complicated as possible. And there's again another great quote for that. An egotistical person, somebody with a big ego who thinks they're very important, will take something very simple and make it very complicated and hard to understand because it makes them look good. But a genius, somebody who really understands the big picture, will take something very complicated and make it very simple and easy to understand. Now, I don't ever want to be called an egotist, and I certainly would love to be a genius. And that's why I'm learning every day, and that's why I want to keep everything really simple and easy to understand. I want to be a critical thinker. I don't want people to tell me what to think and what to do. How about you? Do you really want to believe everything that's thrown at you? And this is the thing that's very interesting to me, particularly because I've been an exercise professional all of my life. The information comes and goes. There's controversial information, contradicting information, stuff that just doesn't make sense at all. And what about common sense? My mother used to say to me, common sense is not very common. But what is actual common sense? And I'll give you a very simple example of that, again, to do with the exercise profession. And sometimes I get very sad because it's obviously embarrassingly not professional at some times, or most of the time. Common sense says that if you pick up something and it's heavy and you throw it with speed or momentum, that you could get injured. Common sense says that if you put shearing forces across a joint where the joints are rubbing together at speed or momentum, or just rubbing together, that you could get injured. And if you give those kind of movements to somebody in a warehouse, on a work site, in an office, if you told somebody to pick up a heavy box and to throw it with speed and momentum, to throw it with speed and momentum, to throw it with speed and momentum, and to do it with a twist, you'd probably get sued because it's dangerous. Common sense says don't do that to your back or your knees or your hips. It's dangerous. And yet in a gym, in a personal training studio, you only have to look at a lot of the exercises and say, if that was in a workplace or in a warehouse or on a construction site, someone would get sued for doing that exercise. But here in the gym, it seems perfectly normal. Does that make sense? And yet there's so many people that just sheeple along. It's a cross between a sheep and a people. Everybody else is doing it, so I'm going to do it too. But it's interesting because I live in the South Island of New Zealand, where you have to be very resilient because it's very cold and very hot and very windy and snowy and absolutely amazing. But if you watch the sheep down here, and there's thousands of them, if not hundreds of thousands, yes, sheep will follow, but there's always one sheep that goes first and then the lot follow. Well, I don't want to be part of that crowd, that sheeple crowd that just follows along. Because why did they go? And if you ask the sheep, of course, I don't speak sheep, so I can't ask them. But I don't think they know either. They just follow along blindly because that's where everybody else is going. And again, as adults, we can all do whatever we want to. And you can follow whoever you want to on social media. You can listen to all the advice from all the and there's plenty of advice, isn't there, from the experts. But we talk about our kids. We want our kids to grow up to be adults who can think for themselves, who have common sense, who have logic, they're resilient, they're wise, and they're open to learning. And of course, one of the biggest challenges or one of the biggest barriers to learning is already knowing. Isn't that an interesting quote? If you think you know something already, how can you learn any more? Which is why I'm constantly learning, studying, researching, analysing, asking questions. Particularly those two questions. Why would I do that? And how does it work? So what example are we setting for our kids? And I'll just use again another very sad example. We're very quick to run off to the doctor. And I'm very respectful of doctors because they've done a lot of study. But what I do know now, after living on the planet for a very long time as a very old lady and having invested a lot of time with medical professionals, they don't agree on stuff. They constantly disagree on medication, on interventions, on type of surgery you should have. And misdiagnosis is one of the biggest killers in the world today. So when you go to the doctor, a medical professional, and we seem to race there very quickly, I'm sick, tell me what's wrong with me, we get a diagnosis, you've got this. Would it be a really good idea? There's two things. Get a second opinion or third or fourth or fifth opinion, because you never know. This person could be wrong, and they often are, and that's the thing. I'm not being disrespectful to doctors, but they often are wrong. So if this is your health you're talking about, and a lot of the times it's your life. So yes, get a second or third opinion, but even better, you've got to live in this body for the rest of your life, so why not learn how it works? And this is the beautiful thing about critical thinking, being wise, being logical, having common sense, thinking for yourself, is if you learn about how your own human body works, then you're obviously going to learn how your brain works, because your brain lives inside your body. And if you know how your brain works, then you're going to be able to think more clearly, make better decisions, be a critical thinker, and not be scared to ask questions. And I think a lot of people, because they've got low self-esteem or low self-confidence, or they think doctors are smarter than me, they're too scared to ask questions. Oh, the personal trainer knows more than me because they're a qualified personal trainer. Well, again, being an old lady who's lived on the planet a very long time, there's two things there. A lot of personal trainers don't have any qualifications at all. And if I ask most personal trainers, how does the human body work? How does the endocrine system work? How does it work in conjunction with the central nervous system to fire up the skeletal and muscular system to make sure that the digestive system and the immune system work effectively so we can be healthy, fit, strong human beings? Most of them don't know what I'm talking about because they haven't got the knowledge to be able to answer the question. Now, this is not about being disrespectful. This is not about, all I'm asking is be careful. This is your body, this is your brain, this is your life. And if you just listen blindly to the news or the social media influencers or the government or the doctors, humans are wrong. Humans make mistakes, and that's just human. So why not, because you live in a human body, why not learn how it works, learn how your brain works, and then be curious. It's one of the things I just wish all adults were. Kids tend to be, and then we smash it out of them. Don't ask so many questions. When kids ask me a question, I get excited. Ask me another question, ask me another one and another one. I'm blown away on a daily basis. I own a fitness business college, which is all about inspiring people to be healthy, fit and strong and to having a career or business that they love. And people ask me so few questions. Even if people only ask me the questions of the mistakes that I've made, it would be helpful, because I've made hundreds and thousands of mistakes. And if you learn from my mistakes, it would take you a lot of time. But people don't ask any questions. Now, that could be because they're scared to ask because they've got low self-esteem, low self-confidence. They could be scared to ask because they think they should already know. They could be, or they're not scared to ask, they just don't ask because they think they know already. The biggest barrier to learning is already knowing. So I would love all of our kids to grow up to be adults that think for themselves. You can't tell them what to do. You need to explain why you would do it and how it works so that they actually want to do it, not just follow blindly. And if we live in a world where people ask more questions, think for themselves, think logically with common sense, is it possible that we would be healthier, fitter, stronger human beings? We wouldn't have lousy, stinking, rotten jobs that we don't like. We would be financially free and we would have much better relationships. And that's what I'm here for every day. Imagine a world where everybody was healthy, fit and strong. They had a career or business that they loved. They were doing what they love every day. No financial challenges or struggles because you were financially free and you only had great people in your inner circle. And the people that aren't in your inner circle, you know how to handle those horrible, nasty, gossiping, terrible people because you've got a clear thinking brain that knows how to deal with poor behaviour. Think for yourself and be a strong, tough human being so you can sing every day like I do. I love to sing, but this is a good one. When the going gets tough, the tough get excited. Living in the South Island of New Zealand, you've got to be bloody tough. Woohoo!